giants and startups are developing AI technology right here in our city and sucking up a ton of energy and water in the process. I, for one, have questions about our future robot overlords. And today on CityCast Austin, I'm here with a tech expert to try to ease my mind. It's Monday, June 23rd. I'm Nikki Devon, and this is what Austin's talking about. Hello, I am here today with Omar Gallaga, reporter covering tech in Austin. So, okay, I want to get right into it because I'm having some feelings right now about AI. So off top,
we all are, yeah.
Love it or hate it, how do you feel about AI?
I'm very ambivalent. I mean, I've been covering tech for a long time, and I, have, like everybody else, have very mixed feelings about it. There's things about it that scare me, that I worry about, that I think are not good at all. And then there's other things where I feel like we're at the beginning of it, like we were in the early internet days in the late 90s, where it's like, oh wow, people are doing really cool stuff with this, and the creative people are going to find interesting things to do with it. So that's where I'm at. I feel obviously companies are trying to monetize it, and there's scary things about it, but I'm also very excited about the creative things that people are going to do with it. There's going to be things that we're never going to be able to expect in a million years. So I think it's going to be kind of like the rise of the internet. We're not even going to know what to expect, and it's going to change our lives in a lot of ways that we're not anticipating.
I fully am anticipating we're going to have AI overlords, and I'm just trying to prepare myself to serve my overlords the best way that I can.
Yeah, put in a good word now. So.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, someone posted, you waste so many thousands of gallons of water by just saying please and thank you to AI. So stop doing that. I was like, absolutely not. When they take over, I need them to know that I was a benevolent follower.
Oh, I've been nice to Alexa for years. I always say thank you and please.
Exactly. Okay, so full disclosure, our producer was inspired to book this interview after reading about Throne, an Austin company that Lance Armstrong has invested in that says it will use AI to examine people's bodily waste for health purposes. And I'm not even gonna bother you with poo jokes. Let's talk about the businesses that make up Austin's AI industry. Because when I saw this, I was like, now we're doing poop AI. What is going on?
23andMe.
Yeah. Who are the OGs? The biggest companies, the newer companies, what's happening in Austin?
Yeah. Well, the thing about Austin is, we've always had a very diversified tech industry. It's never been just semiconductors. It's never been just computers, in the rise of Dell. We've always had a mix of different types of tech companies. So our industry, when one kind of starts to falter or fail, there's 4 other areas of tech that Austin is into that kind of make up for it. We've got these big tech companies like Apple and Google and Meta in town. Meta's got huge ambitions for AI. So we have those big established companies that have some AI stuff going on in Austin. But we've also got a very strong startup scene. We've got the self-driving car stuff, Tesla and Waymo. That's AI driven. And then you've got these smaller companies, there's a company called Sonar that is doing stuff around coding and AI, and then the Lance Armstrong one you mentioned, one that I don't think people think of as an AI company, Icon, which is known for 3D printing. They're printing buildings, doing 3D printing. They have AI features that will draw up plans for 3D structures using AI. So there's a lot of companies that are already in the Austin tech ecosystem, but they've gotten into AI, or they're using AI to kind of even Dell, we associate Dell with computers and cloud services. They're pushing big into AI. So pretty much every tech company in Austin that does cloud stuff or that does internet stuff is doing something with AI right now. AI is just one component of Austin's tech scene. There's a big crypto. There's a lot of crypto startups in Austin, Bitcoin people. So it's just kind of one leg of the stool of Austin. Speaking of stools, Austin's makeup of tech companies.
So it's just woven into our daily life as Austinites at this point.
It is. And these companies, I think, are trying. My day job is I do a lot of surveys for a company called Wakefield Research, and we're doing a ton of surveys around AI. And a lot of the questions that companies are asking people in the tech industry, their peers, is, are you making money from this stuff? Are you getting ROI on AI projects? So there's a lot of questioning in the industry of okay, we're putting all this money into all these buckets around AI and agentic AI, which is sort of the next phase of AI.
Say that one more time. What's the next phase of AI?
Agentic AI, which AI agents. Right now, we've got like ChatGPT and all these different AI services. Agentic would be almost like a chatbot that kind of follows you, that kind of like remembers your preferences, that sort of is your.
No, thank you.
And that's the thing that people are worried about is going to replace jobs. Is like an AI agent. Can it do the job of a human worker? And, we're not quite there yet for a lot of these applications, but like agentic AI is sort of the next phase.
Wow. Okay.
That's a lot. Sorry.
No. This is great because I mean, listen, I haven't been able to chat with someone that knows what they're talking about when it comes to AI.
Oh, I'm geeking out here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. So Tesla moved its HQ here from California in 2021, even before the Trump stuff. We hear a lot about Elon Musk in Austin. What effect do you think he and his companies have had in AI as far as it pertains to Austin?
Yeah, Elon got kind of fell in love with Austin. I think he put on a cowboy hat and ate a taco and was like, I'm home. This is where I want to be.
Took a photo shoot. Yeah, the whole thing.
But he moved all of the companies he's associated with. So X, formerly Twitter, moved here. Starlink has operations here. All of the SpaceX stuff that's happening down near Brownsville. So it wasn't just moving Tesla. It was all of these companies kind of now have a presence in Austin and here. And with Tesla, we're not like an auto manufacturing town,
right?
But now we kind of are. Now we have the Tesla Gigafactory, which out in east of Austin. So they've had a pretty big impact culturally and as part of the tech industry. And there's been a lot of backlash too around kind of the culture of Tesla and the culture of like Elon Musk. And it weirdly, it ties into the comedy scene of Austin too, with the comedy mothership and the Joe Rogan of it all.
Oh, so much.
There've been a lot of think pieces around like how has Austin changed in the last 5 or 10 years and how much of that has to do with Joe Rogan and Elon Musk coming over and bringing everything associated with them. A lot of comics, a lot of tech engineers and people around those industries. So yeah, it definitely has changed Austin a lot.
Yeah, for sure. So Austin has been kind of like a tech hub since like the 1960s. And we, to your point, are full on the AI bandwagon. According to CBRE, there are more than 7,000 tech talent workers in the AI sector in Austin. And we're a top 10 market for tech talent specializing in AI. What specifically about Austin makes it such a fruitful place for companies to grow? Like, this is a question I keep asking myself as a native Austinite. Like, why do people keep coming here? Like, why is it so fruitful for these specific types of companies to grow?
One is recruiting tech talent is a huge challenge. These AI companies are all trying to hire the same, people who specialize in AI. And you're either going to try to hire them in Silicon Valley, which is very, very competitive and expensive, or you're going to try to hire them in other tech hubs like Nashville, like Austin, like Denver. But it's places people want to live. And Austin has a huge appeal. You get somebody here in March or October when the weather is halfway decent during South by Southwest or ACL Fest. And they're like, I want to live here.
Yeah.
I think just the quality of life and that this AI talent, they're in their 20s, they're early 30s. Like they want to live somewhere cool.
Yes.
They want to live somewhere where they'll have some sort of social life, even if they're working 80 hours a week. So just the draw of Austin is a big reason why people have come here and why these companies, find it easier to hire to get people to move here. The other thing I think is just the ecosystem of UT, just all of the research that's happening at UT, the McCombs School of Business. We have the Supercomputing Center up in North Austin. So we have all of this sort of supercomputing infrastructure, which is very relevant to AI, data centers. And then if you're a tech company that wants to get into AI or a startup, you look around, there's Apple, there's Google, there's Meta, there's Amazon. So like there's that ecosystem too, where there's a lot of cross-pollination, especially if you're partnering with any of these companies, you're going to want to be nearby.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because, Houston Tillotson also just hosted their first AI conference for HBCUs. So like, it's spreading like crazy. I think Austin is definitely, not to sound cliche, but we are a work hard, play hard city. Let's talk about the impact these companies have on our resources. One huge downside of AI is that it sucks up a lot of water and power. So how are Austin-based companies addressing that?
Yeah, I mean, the energy draw on AI is significant. And a couple of years ago, there was a big discussion around Bitcoin farms, all these kind of Bitcoin mining operations going around the state. And what they were doing was they were like setting up camp in Rockdale and all these out of the way places where there was already power infrastructure where there used to be like aluminum companies or other types of industries that had already built out that infrastructure. So I think you're going to see a lot more of that, a lot of AI and tech companies spreading out across Texas to places where there's already good power energy infrastructure. The other thing I'm seeing is that some of these tech companies like Microsoft and Google are getting into nuclear energy. That is a thing. So we're seeing sort of the return of more nuclear power reactors across the country. And there's a company in Austin that I talked to called Allo, AALO, and they're a startup that's working on mini nuclear reactors that they can actually like put on the back of a truck and ship across the country for data centers. Like they're going to be, build data centers around that and have their own source of power where they don't have to tap into the grid.
I am going to show my ignorance here. Every time I hear the word nuclear, I think of some sort of villain that's trying to end the world. And then
like a Simpsons movie or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that that's not what it is. But man, when I hear that, I get so nervous. You know what I mean? That's
a huge problem. Yeah. The nuclear power industry, and they call it clean energy, but people still associate it with 3 Mile Island and Chernobyl. There's still very, very negative associations with it. But people like Bill Gates are like very bullish on this. They're like, that is where we're going to get our power from. In addition to solar and wind power and other sources, like it's part of the picture, not the end all be all solution.
Oh my gosh. So I'm curious.
It's still scary.
It's still scary. I am all for ambition, and I love that in so many ways. There's a part of me that's like, okay, now slow it down. Let's just, Let's just be aware of what we're doing before, it's too late. But I come from that generation of suspicion.
When you see what's, the power and the influence that these tech leaders have, your Elon Musk's, your Jeff Bezos's, it's hard not to think like that there's something nefarious going on and that there's some, to what end are they developing these technologies? Like with Elon Musk, it's like, okay, he wants to get to Mars at some point, and he wants to raise a lot of kids. Like that seems to be his two motivations.
I feel like there are a few things scarier than a bored billionaire, because I think that's just like when they get into trouble, just start throwing their money everywhere. So speaking of which, I'm curious about oversight. Like, who is watching what these companies are doing with our data, with our information, with our resources? Is AI being regulated on a local level or a state level or only a federal level or a combination of the three?
That's a good question and very timely, because what's happening is there is some movement in Congress, the U.S. Congress, to try to make it so that states can't do that, that there would be an overriding rule that for the next 10 years, you won't be able to regulate AI on the state level. And the reason for that, the reasoning is, well, we don't want to stifle innovation. We want to keep up with these other countries like China on AI. We want to lead that space. So we don't want states meddling with that. California last year made a big effort to pass these AI regulations. And so like that, this is the federal government saying, we don't want states involved in that. We want, the AI companies to kind of run amok or do whatever do their thing for the next 10 years without the states getting in the way of that.
Omar, you are stressing me out.
I'm sorry. Look, I just report these things. I mean,
of course, they want no regulations. Oh my God.
But here's the good news, though. I think that my theory is that when we see some of these AI failures, because there have been outages, there have been some instances where AI hallucinations and instances where we're seeing even like ChatGPT get things wrong. I think there is going to be enough of a backlash. Yeah. I think we're like one AI crisis away from lawmakers saying, okay, we got to do something. But right now we're still in the honeymoon phase. At the state level, though, surprisingly, Texas has been going on after some of these tech companies. Paxton and Abbott have been suing, companies like Meta and Google over data privacy and over biometrics. So you would think Texas would be more business friendly, but they have been going after tech companies and settling huge lawsuits for billions of dollars over things like facial recognition and biometric scanning and putting kids in danger on social media. Like those have been big pet issues for the state government, for our state leadership.
I feel like we're on the precipice of something. I agree with you. Like we're seeing all these small potatoes kind of things right now. Like I saw something on the internet the other day in Austin where a woman, a Waymo stopped under Mopac. They were under Mopac on that bend by 5th, and the Waymo just stopped. and then they couldn't get out of the car. Like they couldn't get out of the car. Yeah. And like they had to talk to tech support, and tech support was like, we understand, we hear what you're saying. But meanwhile, they're just in this car on this dangerous stretch of road, and cars are just whizzing by them. Finally, they get out and they're videoing, and the Waymo is still there, just like fritzing out. And this is small, but I'm like, this is kind of what I'm talking about, where there has to be checks and balances or fail safes or something until we get to wherever this other place is we're trying to get. There's got to be some sort of regulation. There has to be.
Yeah, there has been around autonomous vehicles. Like that has been a huge flashpoint of conflict. Is how to what degree do we let these cars drive themselves? And the trucking industry has been very involved in that, because like the idea that you could get rid of the long hours and the strain of these long hauls. Like, yeah, automate those, the big rigs, but that's a dangerous piece of equipment, but that is one area where it seems to make sense to do self-driving, but you do that safely.
What do former President Lyndon B. Johnson and the movie Jaws, yes, that Jaws, have in common? A new exhibit at the LBJ Presidential Library. Before he wrote Jaws, Peter Benchley was President Johnson's speechwriter, and this temporary exhibit is all about Benchley's journey from the White House to best-selling novelist to ocean conservationist. Talk about a fascinating career. Don't miss this chance to learn all about Benchley and Johnson's environmental legacy, how Jaws changed our understanding of sharks, and much more. From the White House to the deep ocean, LBJ, Jaws, and Conservation will be at the LBJ Presidential Library from now through October 19th. Find out more about the exhibit at lbjlibrary.info/Jaws. Just off the Texas coast sits a unique beach town marked with salty vibes and sun-soaked memories. Port Aransas is a place where family traditions unfold naturally, and beauty lies both in island views and the unhurried moments between adventures. It's a place where multiple generations can get together under one roof to share slow beachfront mornings and cool Gulf breeze evenings. An island escape with 18 miles of shoreline to cast your line, kayak with the kids, or simply cruise the coast in a golf cart. One visit, and you'll see why generations of Texans have anchored their traditions to the island life. Start your new favorite family tradition in Port Aransas, Texas. Go to visitportaransas.com and plan your visit to Austin's beach.
This episode is sponsored by Babbel. Have you ever picked a vacation spot based on where you won't need a phrase book? With Babbel, the language barrier no longer has to hold you back. You can start speaking a new language with confidence thanks to Babbel's conversation-based techniques, which quickly teach you useful words and phrases about the things you actually talk about in the real world. Babbel has more than a dozen languages available for you to learn at your own pace, with material tailored to your individual proficiency level, interests, and time availability. I'm David Plotz, CEO of CityCast, and I've been learning Spanish with Babbel. What I really love about learning Spanish with Babbel is that it works with me where I am. The app and the website keep track of what I've learned. They help me review what I probably forgot from last time, and always is keeping me engaged with a new challenge based on actual conversations I might have in Spain or Mexico or Colombia, especially food conversations, because I love food conversations. So get talking with Babbel. I want you to learn another language, so I'm teaming up with Babbel to give you 55% off subscriptions, but only for CityCast listeners at babbel.com/CityCast. Get up to 55% off at babbel.com/CityCast, spelled BABBEL.com/CityCast. Babbel.com/CityCast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
I'm so curious how you got into this. Like, because I am not going to lie to you. Just in case you could not tell, I just don't trust it. And I feel like a boomer old lady saying this, but every time I'm just like, no, AI, you cannot turn me into a mermaid. No, I don't want ChatGPT. I don't want none of that. What is it about? What draws you to AI?
Well, I mean, I've been covering tech for decades since before the .com boom, and so I've always been interested in technology. I've always been interested to see where it goes and what people do with it. But I was one of those. I was resistant to AI. Like as soon as AI started bubbling up, I was like, well, this could be just a hype thing. This could just be some like remember 3D TV? Like that was the next big thing, and then it didn't go anywhere. You see these technologies sometimes bubble up where there's a hype cycle and everybody gets excited about it, but then nobody actually buys it or uses it, and it kind of goes away. And early on, I thought, well, maybe it's like that, but it has proven sort of unstoppable. I pushed away from ChatGPT. I resisted using any of these things. As a writer, I feel threatened by it. And eventually I got to a point where I was like, well, this is inescapable. Like I'm going to have to know something about it in order to write about these things. And then I started to get a little bit more excited about it when I thought, well, this feels very much like the early .com days where like, what are we going to do with this amazing new technology that's transformative? Like who are the artists and the creatives and people that are going to really do interesting things with it? That's where I'm sort of at right now is sure, ChatGPT, Perplexity, whatever, but I want to see what artists do with it. I want to see what creative people do with it, filmmakers and writers. Like there are ways that you can use this technology in interesting ways. I just don't think we're there yet. I think people are still kind of getting their heads around it.
How do you think Austinites and Central Texans in general feel about AI? Do you think that there's a general level of support, or are people more on the fence like me, like, no?
I think it's a mix. I think there's some people that are just very resistant to AI. I mean, we have a lot of old school Austin techie people and people on the creative and government side or whatever, or education, who are just not about AI at all. Like they're trying to keep away from it as much as possible. But I think there's people who rely on it a lot. I think you'd be surprised. We've done some surveys around this with business executives, but I think this applies to a lot of other people because I talk to creative people all the time who use AI. Some people are becoming very reliant on ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever tool they use, like to the point where they're like, should I get married? Should I buy a house? I'm lonely, tell me a joke. People are using AI to a surprising degree for companionship.
Companionship?
We have this male loneliness epidemic, whatever, people my age.
Yeah.
People are using ChatGPT like, I'm sad, cheer me up, ChatGPT. Tell me a joke, give me some ideas for things I can go do this weekend because I don't have any friends and I'm lonely. Some people are becoming very reliant on ChatGPT as a guide, as a companion, kind of the promise of the personal assistant that we had with Siri and with Alexa. That I think that is happening with ChatGPT and Perplexity, tools like that, where people are like, I've got decision fatigue. You decide for me. I don't want to deal with this. Did I just blow your mind?
Yes. Yep.
I see it happening. I really do. I know people who are like that, and I'm like, why are you using ChatGPT? You have like, Omar GPT right here. I can answer a question for you.
I mean, well, okay. So, I try to be mindful of this because I am an extroverted person. So it's like, I try to remind myself, not everybody is extroverted. I can see using ChatGPT to say, find me something cool to do this weekend. I don't know why you would do it because Google is right here, but fine. But asking ChatGPT to cheer you up makes me feel a little,
it's scary.
like,
I think,
upset.
yeah, I think it ties into our relationship with the idea of how we're going to deal with, robots is the other part of this. Like, you've got companies in Austin like Apptronic and Tesla also working on humanoid robots. Amazon's doing that too. Amazon wants to deliver packages to your door with like human robots that are going to come up and, because for heavy packages.
Oh my God.
So robots is sort of part of this too, because they're going to be AI driven. There's a discomfort there. There's a uncanny valley thing happening where we're very resistant to the idea of things that are too human-like. But I think that's sort of what's next. Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do we coexist? Because it's coming. It's coming. They're going to be there. And I think that's sort of another leg of the AI question is like, what if it's AI, but in a humanoid type body that you're dealing with, not ChatGPT?
I am definitely not ready for that. There is something about interactions with humans that I, as an extrovert, again, crave. Like human interaction, it gives me energy. Like just getting into like weird conversations with people, or just kind of like getting into these conversations that it feels like you can only have with like another person that's kind of like having emotions and feelings, and they're complicated. And so it's so interesting to think about the idea of maybe AI trying to replicate that in some sort of way and what that would look like.
Well, I'm like you. I like being around crowds. I like being around people. I would go to ACL Fest just to like be in the crowd.
People watch,
I enjoy that. I know people who
Yes.
get hives even thinking about that. And there's whole services built around the idea of contactless,
Yes.
interaction. There's people that get their food from Uber Eats and they don't want to shop in person. They want to shop online. And I think these type of services, these type of AI and robotics things are going to cater to those types of people who, like, the fewer humans I interact with, the better.
Everybody deserves to live their lives the way it feels comfortable for them. So like, that part of me, it's like, okay, girl, I get it. If you don't want to be bothered.
Like, have you dealt with humans? They're awful. They're the worst.
Yeah, I get it. I totally get it. So a video came across my feed a couple of days ago where this Black guy says he asked ChatGPT if you could come down to humanity and be born as a being that is a closest representation to God's love, what would you be born as? And ChatGPT says a Black person. And they start the response with Black people are, Black people are where civilization began. They are the prototype for humans. They've been through all of these things. And as ChatGPT is describing why they would be Black, they're like, we are the innovators. We are, as if they have already decided that they are now Black. I don't know why it creeped me out, but I cannot get it out of my head. I can't get out of my head how AI was like, yeah, I'm Black. I would be Black. We're Black. Now it's we. It's not they anymore. It's me. I'm Black. And that kind of like seems to mimic consciousness, I think is what makes me uncomfortable. So like, what kind of weird AI interactions have you seen or been involved in or been a part of that has kind of like, it gave me chills a little bit, but not in a good way. Not in a good way.
Well, it's tricky because I think we've already started to anthropomorphize ChatGPT, so we're already treating it like a person. I keep bringing up Alexa because I have devices in my house and I'm always interacting with it. But we already think in our head of it as like a person. We talk to it like a person. We treat it like a person. ChatGPT is a language model. I mean, it's basically regurgitating all the things that we have fed to it, all of the literature and all of this content from the internet. That's what it's drawing from. It's connecting dots and kind of giving you answers based on everything that you fed to it. And, that's one AI model. There's other AI models that are biased in other ways, that wouldn't give you that same answer because they've been fed a different set of information or processing it differently. Like if you feed it bad data, it's going to give you bad outputs. So you see that's where a lot of the AI hallucinations and a lot of the weird images and videos you see online that look super creepy or don't have the right number of fingers. That's from bad data, and also that AI is still evolving and it's not at a point where it's avoiding some of those errors, but it's getting there. Like if you see some of the more recent like Google VO videos, like it's getting better, it's improving. And that's sort of the inevitability of AI, is that this stuff is improving. Like right now it seems a little clunky and unreliable and gets things wrong. Like I just did a story for CNET about an Atari 2600 beating ChatGPT at chess. But it's not built for that. That's the thing. It's like ChatGPT is not, meant to play chess. So it got spanked by a 50-year-old game console. But I think we're starting to think of ChatGPT as this end-all be-all source of knowledge, the way you would think of, like, say, Google or the entire internet. And it's not that. ChatGPT is, a language model built on a lot of information being fed to it. It's getting better and it's improving, but it still has some blind spots. It still has some areas where it's being asked to do things that it's not really good at or meant to do.
I ain't gonna lie to you, that makes me feel better.
They're not perfect, but they are improving. And I think one thing that happened earlier this year in January was we heard about this DeepSeek AI model from China. And all of a sudden, the entire AI industry in the US was upended because it's like, wait a minute, they made one better than what we made? Like it's an arms race. And we're going to have instances where out of nowhere, somebody's going to come up with something that no one was expecting. And everyone's going to freak out and go, wait a minute, we weren't planning for that. And I think that's what happened with DeepSeek, was like they made it for how much money, how much, more cheaply and more energy efficient. So I think you're going to have a lot of, you're going to have your established players, your Googles, your OpenAIs kind of doing what they're doing, but then you're going to have upstarts and people trying to disrupt that space and people trying to come up with a better, mousetrap for doing AI. And that, there might be some surprises. I mean, think about the history of the internet. Like, who ended up coming out on top of the internet? It was no one that you would have expected, in the late 90s.
Oh my God. I feel cautiously optimistic after this conversation. I won't lie. I think I was thinking of specifically ChatGPT, but maybe AI in general as this all-knowing, all-seeing, all-encompassing thing. And I think that is where the fear is coming from.
Yeah, there's two schools of thought. One is that we're already there, that it's already getting to be as intelligent and capable as a human. And then when you go beyond that, the kind of the concept known as the singularity, that we're going to get to where it can sort of self-correct and build on itself. And then that's the whole like Skynet, takes over the world scenario.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the movies tell us.
yeah, if it's got enough energy and water or whatever to do that. The other scenario is that like we're still a ways away from that because some of this stuff is still clunky and still doesn't work. Some of these technologies are a house of cards. They're built on very shaky data and very shaky technology. As more people use it and more people kind of do stuff with it, we're going to start to see some of those vulnerabilities or some of those areas where it's like, wait a minute, we thought this was way better than it is. Kind of like the ChatGPT Atari 2600 thing. Like, that's a blind spot. That's something that none of us would have anticipated. I think we're going to see more instances where it's like, oh, it's not as far along as we thought it was. So, like self-driving cars 10 years ago, we were being told like we're right on the precipice of self-driving cars. Yes. 10 years later, we're still like, well, where are they? Like, some of these things are harder than they sound.
Yeah. So, okay. Do you have any advice for someone who is hesitant or fearful about how to just dip their toe in and just learn from almost like explaining to someone like they're a second grader? Do you have any advice for people that just want to dip their little toes in?
Yeah, I recognize that there's some people that are like, I don't even want to use it because of the energy issue. I don't even want to waste, the energy it would take to even ask a question of ChatGPT.
Exactly,
I get that.
Exactly.
There's a lot of videos. There's a lot on YouTube. There's a lot of TikToks even that just sort of give you the basics of like, what is this stuff good for? Like, what can you use ChatGPT for? If you did a search on YouTube or TikTok and said, what can I use ChatGPT for? You're going to get so many ideas and so many instances of things that you would have never thought of to do with it. I think that's kind of where to start is like, well, what can this do for me? Like, what are my needs? And a lot of it, especially in business that I'm seeing is people saying like, think of something you don't want to do or something that you consider like busy work that you just don't want to deal with in your life.
Oh.
Is that something you could offload to ChatGPT the way you would like think of the things that you would hire a personal assistant for if you had the means to hire a personal assistant? Is that something ChatGPT could do? I hate filing. Can ChatGPT do my filing? Can it sort through my emails and give me a summary? Can it do things? ChatGPT is really good at sorting information. At like you give it this much, a ton of information, and it whittles it down to like 4 bullet points. You can feed it a 50-page report and say, give me the highlights. That's one thing it's very, very good at. That's a good place to start.
See, you make it sound so approachable. I love that. I love that.
It is. And, you can even, and ChatGPT is also an app. I don't think a lot of people know that it's, a mobile app that you can even talk to. You don't even have to type it in. You just speak to it.
And it can help with resumes and stuff like that. I know lots of people that can't help with their resumes and stuff like that. It's useful.
Yeah. There's a website called AI Exchange that's good for small business owners. If you're a small business and you don't know what to do with AI and you're thinking like, I'm seeing all these companies around me do cool things with it. What can it do for me? Like, that's a good place to start. Rachel Woods, she was from the Macomb School of Business, and she started this AI Exchange, and it's just a community for people to talk about ways that they're using AI in small business and to get consulting on it.
I love that. Is there anything else that you want to add that I didn't ask you about that you think people should know?
Yeah, I think it's okay to be scared of AI and worried about AI and still find ways to use it in some way in your life or incorporate it into your life somehow. Like, to me, it feels inevitable the way the web did and the internet. If you're old enough to remember this, think about what your attitude was toward the web and the internet when it first started versus what your attitude is now. It's just part of your everyday life. I think that's going to happen with AI one way or another. We just don't know exactly in what form or where it will go. My bet is, some sort of mix of robotics and the kind of the personal assistant idea of, you carry around an assistant with you all day that does your bidding. That's where I think it's going.
Man, I love that. Omar, thank you so much for being here. This is awesome.
Oh, I love having these conversations.
I'm super hesitant, but this has been really, really great and really informative. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. Thank you so much. And thanks for having me. And good luck out there. Yeah, AI is a little scary, but I think there's some interesting things to do with it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Austin. You can find links to Omar's social media in our show notes. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our Hey Austin newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Bye, y'all.